Hello everyone, back to tuning into today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days for today's second video. So day going to take us around the 21st of July. We'll be able to extend out beyond that, being extended GFS and ECM ensembles. They run to around a couple of weeks. Have a look at CFSV2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks. That takes us into the early part of August. The weekend forecast has been released, so that's your detailed weekend look ahead. And high pressure going to try and get involved this week. Going to try and get into the ascendancy. It's not going to be plain sailing though. It can take a while. It's going to settle down a bit this weekend, but not sustained set of weather. And as we go into next week, probably goes a bit more unsettled through the early part of the week, and then the high pressure might strike later in the week, and next weekend might turn hot. Have a look at weekend forecast and see what's going on there. We will touch on it, of course, in this video as well. So just to say that coming up later on today at GavsWeatherVids.com, probably around 6-7 o'clock this evening, we're going to have the latest update, a blog post with the latest update for the ECM seasonal model. That's going to be looking at the weather next few months with the ECMWF seasonal model. So that should be quite interesting to read on the blog at GavsWeatherVids.com later on this evening, probably around 6-7 o'clock. I'll talk you through what's happening tomorrow at the end of the video, but let's get on with it then. I'm going to start off by having a look at what's going on with Faye in northeastern parts of America. So, of course, we had Tropical Storm Faye off the east coast of America yesterday. This has now gone down to a post-tropical storm. This is post-tropical storm Faye. It's giving sustained winds of 35 miles per hour with a minimum central pressure of 1,001 millibars. It's moving northwards at around 17 miles per hour. Forecast track for this post-tropical storm Faye is, but it's in around the New York area, the state of New York at the moment. Going to carry on pushing northwards in towards Canada as we go through the weekend as a post-tropical depression. It will still bring further heavy showers and thunderstorms though to northeastern parts of America. Otherwise, it's relatively quiet in the tropical Atlantic at the moment, and we shall carry on seeing what's happening there over the next few days and weeks, of course. Central temperature is looking like this. So this is CT from Hadley Provisional up to yesterday. So for the first 10 days of July, we're now quite substantially below average, actually, around 15.1, standing at 15.1. That's an anomaly of 0.7 degrees below average. So getting off around a degree below the 61 to 1990 average, and it would be further below that, actually. It would be further over a degree below average, I think, if we was dealing with the 81 to 2010 average. That is provisional up to yesterday, up to the 10th of July. How this works out is that we have had quite a massive deviation below average for maxima. So our maximum temperatures, temperature in the CT region, is averaging at 17.8 at the moment. Again, provisional to yesterday, 10th of July. That is over 2 degrees below average. That's 2.5 degrees nearly below the 61 to 1990 average. So very, very chilly daytimes over the past 10 days. The only reason it's holding up sort of not too bad, although yes, around a degree below average, is because nights have been warmer. So our average minimum for the CT is at 12.1, which is actually above average. It's actually 0.7 degrees above average. So these warmer nights have been offsetting what have been really, really cool and chilly days over the past 10 days. And so that is how that's how we're only averaging like 0.7 degrees below the 61 to 1990 average. But nevertheless, I think at this time of the year, it tends to be the daytimes that are more important than the night times. We do get this quite a lot with the CT in the summer. You know, that the CT will hold up okay, but it does it through warm nights, but with cool, wet, overcast, cloudy days. You know, so the daytime in the summer, I think, is a little bit more important than the night temperatures. really, because you know, your temperature might be holding up at around 13 degrees at night, but might not get much above around 17 degrees by day, and it might be overcast and pouring with rain day and night, and so that was still going to be a very poor summer scenario, even though your nighttime temperature, because of the cloud cover, might be holding up not too bad. So for this time of year, I think it tends to be the maximum temperatures, but are more important for the overall feel of the summer. And as I say, the maximum temperature for the first 10 days of July has been around 2.5 degrees below average, which is very, very substantially cooler than average. And so that is why it's been so miserable, really, over these first 10 days of the month. A very, very significant cooler than average anomaly for the first 10 days of the month. We may see this recovering in the next few days, though, because it does look as though we're going to start to bring up some much warmer air in around a week's time from the south. These are the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts from Penn State University for the next week to 10 days, with the ECMWF on the top and the GFS on the bottom. So 500 millibars is now in the absolute high pressure, low pressure, been moved around by the jet stream running above. Red extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. You can see that with the ECM, again, these are for the 7 to 10 day time frame, which takes us up to around the 21st of July. You can see that with the ECM, we've got this area of below average heights out to our west, and our northwest got above average heights to our east and southeast. So this is going to drag up, if it comes off, it will drag up much warmer air. You would even say quite hot air from the south. So that does hint at a bit of a plume. But of course, with the trough of low pressure in the Atlantic, it's all very, very flimsy, and this ridge could get flattened off at any point. And certainly if it does get hot, I imagine with the trough of low pressure in the Atlantic being quite deep, we are at risk of a relatively significant thundery breakdown happening quite quickly. The GFS is very similar. In fact, it's more or less identical, with below average heights again out to the northwest, above average heights sitting over to the east. Countries will draw up if it comes off. Very warm to hot southerly winds, but of course with the low pressure in the Atlantic, the ridge could be flattened at any point. And if it does get hot, because we've got a trough just to our west-northwest, it will quickly break down into thunderstorms. So same sort of scenarios we were talking about in yesterday's 10 to 14 day update. A couple of hot days, and then expect thunder to follow very quickly if those hot days do occur. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. We're going at St. Just today, another suggested location for this part of the video. So red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for St. Just, and we're starting off a little bit on the cooler than average side at the moment. Temperatures are going to struggle to average in the next few days, but through next week, it does look as though we've got a warming trend on our hands, lifting up with the temperature, particularly as we go from around, let's say, the 17th, 18th to around the 21st, 22nd of July. This period just here looks like it's becoming significantly warmer. You'll see that the thick green line, which is the 6Z operational GFS run, does become really quite hot indeed. Goes up to between 20 Celsius and 15 Celsius, 815 HPA. Probably a little bit of a hot outlier. I wouldn't necessarily say an outlier, because there are a few other ensemble members going quite close to that. But at this point, it is just about the hottest member of the GFS ensembles at that point. This rusty coloured line just here actually goes even hotter than that a little bit later on, and that clearly is a real outlier. But we have got a warming trend. Most of these ensemble members between around the 17th and 22nd of July do become quite hot. So yes, it does look as though temperatures are going to be lifting up, and it's just a case of how hot is it going to get, I think, for those days. But again, if it does get hot, it's only going to be very brief, I think, and then it will break down into thunder. Precipitation-wise, a lot of dry weather coming up for St. Just. Loads of dry weather. Going to be close to the ridge of the Azores High. Maybe going a little bit more unsettled there right at the very end of the ensemble. But to be honest, that is a very dry ensemble for the next couple of weeks for St. Just. Temperature anomalies from the 11th to the 19th of July are a little bit below average, so we continue to be pretty cool. These may start to trend warmer over the next few days. Precipitation anomalies from the 11th to the 19th of July, drier than average. And yeah, so it's going to be a bit on the cool side, but it will be pretty dry and then we probably expect temperatures to get warmer in around a week or so's time. This is the latest in terms of the wind flow and direction and upper level winds as well from earthnullschool.net. So we are now beginning to get a bit of an influence from higher pressure. So being very low pressure dominated, of course, over this July so far. But we are now seeing the westerlies being pushed northwards. That's where the jet stream is going. The jet stream is moving northwards now into the northern half of the country. And where we've got this clearer area just here, and then down through here, we've got very light winds. That is a ridge of high pressure. We haven't had one of those for quite some time. This ridge of high pressure is going to be pushing northeastwards over this week. It will give most of us a dry weekend, and it's going to get quite warm, particularly so tomorrow. And then we'll see the high pressure sort of pulling back again into the Atlantic, because we do still have quite a bit of low pressure in the Atlantic. There's a low there, there's another one just here, so there's still plenty of low pressure in the Atlantic. And so although we've got this ridge for the weekend, the ridge is going to be put under more pressure from lower pressure early next week. And then middle and second half next week, the ridge will have another go, and that might be more successful then in setting up a proper dry and warm pattern. But yeah, so this weekend we have got a bit of a ridge of high pressure, which is something we haven't had for quite some time. Right, so this is how the UK Met is looking for Tuesday. So on Tuesday we begin to pull that high pressure back, that ridge back into the Atlantic, trough dropping in from the northwest with the UK Met. That turns things showery, particularly in the north, but even further south and east, there will be a risk of showers through there. Thursday, we start to see the extension from the Azores High building back towards us again. And that's Friday. As far as we go, the UK Met is to Friday, 17th of July. Showery with low pressure up to the north, but a ridge in the south should keep things mainly dry and quite warm for much of England and Wales. This is for GFS 6 then. And again, we find that we've got a trough of low pressure dropping in from the northwest, bringing showers and on spells rain with this 6 o'clock run of the GFS into Wednesday. That low pressure gets out of the way, and then the ridge extends up from the southwest. That's a nice extension from the Azores High. And then if you've seen the weekend broadcast, you'll know what happens after that. So on Friday and through to Saturday, this ridge from the Azores High increasingly takes over. That turns us very warm from Friday through to Saturday, and mainly dry away from northern Scotland. Then it gets even hotter as the high pressure then by Sunday, 19th of July, the high pressure starts to drift to our east. We begin to pull up these southerly winds. We saw it on the 500 millibar high Dolly flow chart, Penn State University. So, yes, becoming very warm over next weekend. Temperatures rising up into the mid to upper 20 Celsius. And then by Monday, the 20th of July, possibly even hotter than that. Look at this, high pressure drifting away to the east, lower pressure developing out to the west, and sucking up these very warm to hot southerlies. 15 Celsius ice firm is surging northwards from France. That's probably enough to lift temperatures to 30 degrees, 86 Fahrenheit. By day 10, this trough of low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, that could be the trigger for thunderstorms. But look at that, it does look hot. That could, well, I mean, got 15 Celsius, ice firm a long way north, up into northern parts of England. So for the southeast, that probably gets you to around 32, 33, into the 90s Fahrenheit there. Day 10, 21st of July, but only briefly. It's only a brief plume. And then we push all of that heat and humidity away, and we get a rebuild of pressure, or reload of pressure from the west, but within a much cooler air mass. There's the upper air temperatures for Wednesday, the 22nd of July. Big cool down has taken place. However, the heat is only just over the other side of the channel. When hot air is that close, of course, there is always a potential for a very quick reload. Moving into extended range with this GFS run. High pressure mainly ruling the roost, really, much of the time. So pretty dry, quite warm, moving up to the end of the GFS run, which gets us today to the 27th of July. So definitely a warmer second half of July being signalled here from the 6Z GFS compared to the first half of the month. GM is very different. Wait till you see this. So this is what the GM is showing for Tuesday. Again, bring the trough in from the northwest, a little bit on the cool and showery side there. But let's go into the middle and second half of next week. We don't push this ridge across the country like the GFS is showing. Actually, we keep the ridge centred out to our west. It's reasonably settled, particularly for more southern and western areas. But the big difference with this is that we are on the cool side of the ridge. Remember, to get hot air, we have to get the ridge over and to the east of the country, somewhere around there. And when that happens, we will draw up southerly winds. And of course, southerly winds what brings the heat up from the south. But if we remain, that's what happens if we're on the western side of a ridge. If we're on the eastern side of a ridge, as the GEM has it though, what we're going to do is pull the wind in from the north. And so, although relatively settled, the GEM is a lot cooler for next weekend, with winds coming in from the north and probably bringing some showers to northeastern parts of the country too. We generally stay on the cool side of a ridge into Monday the 20th of July, so certainly no heat wave with that. By the very end of the GM run, which gets us to day 10, Tuesday 21st, we're just beginning to slip the ridge down across the country, so we're cutting off that northerly flow. It's probably beginning to warm up, but still no real heat wave with that. We're still on the cool side of the ridge even then. So the GM is relatively settled for days 7, 8, 9, 10, but is a lot cooler compared to the GFS. And this is what the ECM is showing. So the ECM again has a bit of a trough coming in from northwest early next week, bringing some showery conditions. That carries on into Wednesday as well. Thursday to Friday, we begin to see the ridge strengthening in the south. Only things mainly dry and warm for England and Wales, still a little bit changeable for Scotland and Northern Ireland. And then, crucially, and this is why I've gone with the GFS solution for the weekend forecast, crucially, the ECM then goes in the same direction as the GFS. So the ECM starts to power up this ridge at the end of the week and into next weekend. High pressure takes over and we start to draw up these hot southerly winds with the ECM too. So that's the reason that I decided to go with the GFS solution with the weekend forecast and predict that it's going to get a lot hotter at the end of the week into the weekend, because we have both the GFS and the ECM, the EC, the Euro going in the same direction. When that happens, it's a pretty strong signal, though we can't discount what the GEM is showing. So don't discount that as a possibility, but at the moment it looks like this is the most favoured option, with things getting a lot hotter next weekend as winds turn into the south. But it's volatile, because there we have low pressure close to the Bay of Biscay. And so what's going to happen here, of course, is going to pull the heat up from the south, and it is turning hot with the upper air temperatures. The 15 Celsius isotherm is moving northwards across England and Wales, so this is getting us to 30 degrees, I would have thought, down in the south. But again, it is volatile, so this trough then quickly moves in across the country. By Monday, 21st of July, we are cutting off the heat and probably having some sort of thundery breakdown. Still hot with the upper air temperatures at midnight on the 20th of July, but by the time we go through to day 10, which is Tuesday 21st of July, we go to a cooler, fresher air mass, but still with quite an influence from high pressure just to our southwest, but upper air temperatures become a lot lower. So a couple of hot days around the 20th, 21st of July, but probably no more than that. This is how the precipitation forecast is looking from TomatoShow.com based on that ECM run. So some showery rain in the north at the moment, otherwise quite a bit of dry weather coming up. Over the next few days, what rain there is mostly in the northwest, very little getting into the south and the southeast. A little bit there around the 15th of July. And then after that it starts to go drier, of course, away from Scotland and Northern Ireland, England and Wales turning drier as high pressure takes over. It becomes very warm, possibly hot, but as we run up towards day 10, suggestion there that could be some thunder, particularly for northern parts of the country, but of course that could be anywhere. It's a very long way off. By the time we get through to day 10, it's relatively dry, temperatures are cooler, but we are still close to high pressure. This is the option that's on the table within the ECM ensembles for 216 hours. So this is the 20th of July. So pretty good support for this little hot spell. So you have 23 members of the ECM ensembles with high pressure over to the east of the country. That's going to draw up very warm top winds from the south. 14, including the control and the operational run, have high pressure again over to the east of the country. Just a bit deeper with the low pressure to the west, a little bit more unstable. Still going to be hot though, but suggests thunder coming in very quickly. And then 14 just here are a little bit cooler. They have high pressure sort of through the country, but kind of to the south, with lower pressure to the north. That's flatter and more westerly. So that's still relatively settled, but will be a bit cooler. But if we put the 23 just here, because they're very similar scenarios, if we put the 23 there with the 14 there, I think we see a very clear signal within the ECM ensembles for things to go pretty hot around the 20th of July. But again, likely to be only brief and unstable. In 10 days' time, these are the options that we've got. To have 23 members of the ECM ensembles with a ridge close to the country. That can be mainly dry. 14 looking quite volatile. Thundery breakdown is going on, followed by a cool down. And then 14 with high pressure to west-northwest. That's going to be bringing in winds from a northwesterly direction, a little bit cooler with that. In 2 weeks' time, this is the option that we've got. Gets us to the 26th of July. All members of the ECM ensembles then have a ridge out to our west, placing us on the cool side of a ridge. So probably relatively dry, maybe, but certainly quite cool with winds coming in from a northwesterly direction. Finally, the CFS-V2 means the 500 millibar height spreading down to week periods. The first weekly period will take us from the 11th to the 17th of July. The coming week has above average heights building up from the southwest, turning drier and warmer with time. Week 2 is going to be the 18th to 24th of July. High pressure more or less over the top of the country. So a lot of dry, warm, fine weather involved with that one. Week 3 is going to be the 25th to the 31st of July. Still a lot of high pressure, this time more to west-northwest though, so that's probably pulling in cooler winds from like a northeasterly type direction. And then week 4 is the 1st to the 7th of August with above average heights, high pressure sitting over to the southeast of the country, low pressures out to the northwest. That could be turning very warm, possibly hot, but again, I wouldn't expect it to last all that long because I think it will very quickly break down into thunder. Right then, so that's what we're focusing on over the next few days, I think. So that's how it's looking. We're going to have this warmer interlude over the weekend. Early next week turns cooler and more showery, and then we're watching for the second half next weekend, whether we hook up this Azores High and whether we pull up some heat from the south. If we do pull up some heat from the south next weekend, expect it to be only very brief before it's swept away by a thundery breakdown, and then it turns cooler and fresher, although probably still with quite an influence from high pressure, and the heat probably not too far away over the other side of the channel across France. Could come back, could get a reload if that's the case. Right, so that's it for your videos for today. We're going to have that blog update coming up tonight at GavsWeatherVids.com, looking at the ECMWF seasonal model for the next few months. It's going to be a very, very interesting read, I can promise you that. It's going to take us more or less to the end of the year. So yes, that's going to be a really interesting read. It'll be for around 6-7 o'clock on GavsWeatherVids blog this evening. Tomorrow we're going to have some more autumn analogues. So our next autumn update will be the first video up tomorrow. GavsWeatherVids Sunny Roundup will be coming up as well. And then from 6 o'clock tomorrow we'll be live stream. Going to have our live stream from 6 o'clock tomorrow, where we'll check in, see how we're all doing. And in that live stream, we're going to look at Patal Peng's analogues for the winter of 2020-21. So I think that's highly anticipated, and that will be coming up in the live stream tomorrow from 6 o'clock. We'll probably have a look at CFS-V2 for next winter, or for this winter as well. So a lot going on, and then after that I'm off for a few days. So I do the live stream, and then that will be me done until like the following Sunday, and I am ready for a rest. Okay, so that's it for today's videos, though. Blog update coming up between 6 and 7 o'clock tonight, looking at the E7S season model. Do check it out at website. But for today's videos, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.